The automatic doors of Megamart slide open as a man in an impeccable suit strides through, his federal badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Assistant Director Jerome "Tank" Lawson's eyes scan the chaotic scene before him, overturned shopping carts, scattered merchandise, and a crowd of stunned customers holding up phones. In the center of the commotion, Officer Trent Ashworth stands over a black woman in retail uniform, his hand still raised from where he'd just struck her across the face. The woman sits on the floor, blood trickling from her split lip, her name tag reading Maya Askew on her store vest. "That's enough," Assistant Director Lawson announces, his voice cutting through the murmur of shocked whispers. Every head turns toward the federal agent as he approaches with unmistakable authority. Officer Ashworth, who had been sneering at the woman moments before, suddenly looks uncertain as Lawson kneels beside her. "Are you all right, Agent Winters?" The woman on the floor, Maya Johnson to everyone in the store, but Special Agent Camilla Winters to those who knew her real identity, looks up with relief flooding her features. "Sir, my cover's blown, but the surveillance equipment caught everything." The realization hits Officer Ashworth like a freight train. The troublemaking customer he'd just assaulted isn't just any civilian. She's an FBI agent conducting an undercover investigation, and his brutality has just been recorded by federal surveillance equipment. 3 months earlier, Special Agent Camilla Winters had been briefed on Operation Clean Sweep in the sterile conference room of the FBI's Cincinnati field office. At 34, she was one of the Bureau's most skilled undercover operatives, with a talent for blending into communities and gaining the trust of criminal organizations. Vincent Castellano has been laundering money through seemingly legitimate businesses across Ohio. Assistant Director Lawson explained, clicking through surveillance photos. "We believe Megamart in Millbrook Commons is one of his primary washing facilities." The investigation had been months in the planning. Castellano's organization moved millions in drug money through retail establishments, using fake transactions, inflated inventory reports, and corrupted employees to clean dirty cash. Megamart's unusual cash flow patterns and suspicious employee hiring practices had triggered federal attention. Camilla's cover identity, as Maya Johnson was, carefully constructed, a single mother with an 8-year-old son named Jordan, working retail to make ends meet. The backstory was partially true. Camilla did have a son named Jordan, though her real job paid significantly more than minimum wage. Your objective is to identify the money laundering mechanism and gather evidence on key players. Special Agent in Charge Diana Foster had explained. "Anthony DeLuca is our primary target. He's Castellano's lieutenant and likely the on-site coordinator." The undercover operation required Camilla to actually work at Megamart, starting as a part-time cashier and gradually working her way into the confidence of employees involved in the criminal enterprise. She rented a modest apartment in Millbrook, enrolled Jordan in the local elementary school, and became Maya Johnson completely. For 3 months, she had watched money move through the store in ways that defied normal retail logic. Cash deposits that didn't match daily sales, inventory that appeared and disappeared without corresponding transactions, and a core group of employees who handled certain customers differently than others. DeLuca visited the store weekly, always after hours, always meeting with manager Kevin Dalton in the back office. Camilla had been slowly building evidence, photographing documents, recording conversations, and mapping the network of corrupted employees. The investigation was nearing its conclusion when everything went wrong. Someone had spotted her taking photographs of suspicious paperwork in the manager's office. By the time she realized her cover was compromised, it was too late to extract safely. That morning, she had arrived for her shift, knowing that DeLuca's people suspected her, but not knowing exactly what they planned to do about it. She activated her emergency beacon and continued working, hoping to gather a few more crucial pieces of evidence before her inevitable extraction, What she hadn't anticipated was Officer Trent Ashworth's involvement in the criminal enterprise. When store security called police about a suspicious employee, Ashworth had responded with unusual eagerness. His reaction to finding her in the office suggested he was more than just a responding officer. He was part of the protection network that kept Castellanos' operation running smoothly. The confrontation that followed would blow her cover completely, but it would also expose the extent of corruption that reached beyond the store and into local law enforcement. The morning shift at Megamart had started routinely, until manager Kevin Dalton pulled Camilla aside with a forced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Maya, I need you to help with inventory in the back office. Some discrepancies we need to sort out." Camilla's undercover instincts immediately triggered alerts. In 3 months of working at the store, she had never been asked to handle inventory discrepancies, and Dalton's nervous energy suggested this wasn't a routine request. "Of course, Mr. Dalton," she replied, maintaining her Maya Johnson persona while mentally reviewing her exit strategies and emergency protocols. The back office was cramped and cluttered, with filing cabinets lining the walls and a desk covered in paperwork that Camilla had been trying to access for weeks. As Dalton closed the door behind them, she noticed security guard Frank Turner positioning himself outside, his hand resting on his radio. "Maya, we've had some concerns about your work performance," Dalton began, his voice tight with forced authority. "Some of the other employees have mentioned seeing you in areas where you don't belong." Camilla maintained her cover, adopting the defensive posture of a minimum wage worker afraid of losing her job. "I don't understand, Mr. Dalton. I've only been where you've asked me to go. I need this job. I've got a son to support." Dalton's expression hardened. "That's just it, Maya. We've been checking into your background, and some things don't add up. Your references, your previous employment history, it's all a little too perfect." The investigation was unraveling faster than Camilla had anticipated. Someone had clearly been digging into her cover identity more thoroughly than expected. She needed to maintain the deception while finding a way to extract safely. "I don't know what you mean," she said, allowing her voice to crack slightly. "I filled out all the paperwork, honestly. If there's been some mistake—" "The mistake," Dalton interrupted, "was thinking you could spy on us without consequences." The accusation hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Camilla's hand moved instinctively toward her concealed weapon, but she forced herself to maintain character. Blowing her cover completely would end the investigation prematurely. "Spy. Mr. Dalton, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm just trying to do my job and take care of my son." Dalton opened a desk drawer and pulled out a photograph, one of Camilla photographing financial documents the previous week. The image was blurry, but clearly showed her with a camera in an area she shouldn't have been. "Explain this, Maya." Camilla studied the photo, calculating her options. She could continue denying, but the evidence was damning. She could reveal her identity, but that would compromise the investigation. Or she could try to turn the situation to her advantage. "Okay," she said, adopting a different tone. "You caught me. But it's not what you think." Dalton leaned forward, interested despite himself. "I've been collecting evidence because I thought something illegal was happening here. I was going to turn it over to the police." She paused, watching his reaction. "Unless we can work something out." It was a desperate gambit, pretending to be a would-be blackmailer rather than a federal agent. Dalton's expression shifted from suspicion to calculation. "What kind of arrangement did you have in mind?" Before Camilla could respond, Turner's voice came through the office door. "Boss, we've got a situation out here. Police are asking questions about Maya." The trap was closing faster than she had anticipated, and Officer Trent Ashworth was already in the store, asking questions that suggested he knew exactly why he was there. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Officer Trent Ashworth entered the store with the swagger of someone who believed his badge made him untouchable. At 29, he had developed a reputation for aggressive tactics and creative interpretations of police procedure, especially when dealing with what he called problem people. He was also on Vincent Castellano's payroll, though his involvement was carefully hidden behind layers of legitimate police work and convenient coincidences. When manager Dalton called about a suspicious employee, Ashworth had volunteered to respond personally. "Where is she?" he asked Dalton, ignoring the store customers who were beginning to notice the police presence. Dalton led him toward the back office where Camilla waited, still maintaining her Maya Johnson cover despite the increasingly desperate situation. She could hear their approaching voices and activated her emergency beacon one final time, hoping Agent Brennan was monitoring communications. When Ashworth entered the office, his demeanor immediately became hostile. "Maya Johnson, I need to speak with you about some irregularities in your employment here." Camilla stood slowly, her hands visible and non-threatening. "Officer, I'm not sure what this is about, but I'm happy to cooperate." "I bet you are," Ashworth sneered. "Kevin here tells me you've been sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, taking pictures, asking questions about things that aren't your business." The accusation was delivered with the confidence of someone who knew he held all the power in the situation. Camilla maintained her cover, but she could see the trap closing around her. "I don't know what you're talking about, officer. I work here. Sometimes I take pictures for my son. He likes to see where his mum works." Ashworth laughed harshly. "Your son? Right, let me see this phone of yours. If it's just innocent pictures, you won't mind showing me." The request was legally questionable without a warrant, but Camilla was in a difficult position. Her phone contained evidence of the investigation, but refusing to comply would blow her cover completely. "Officer, I'd prefer to speak with a lawyer before—" "Lawyer?" Ashworth interrupted, his voice rising. "Now, why would an innocent store employee need a lawyer?" The confrontation was attracting attention from customers and other employees. Emma Rodriguez, a young customer in electronics section, began recording on her phone when she heard raised voices near the customer service area. Ashworth grabbed Camilla's arm roughly. "You're coming with me for questioning. We're going to get to the bottom of whatever you're really doing here. Am I under arrest?" Camilla asked, maintaining her legal rights while staying in character. "You are now," Ashworth replied, though he hadn't articulated any specific charges. As he began to force her toward the front of the store, Camilla made a calculated decision. She needed to protect her investigation while also documenting Ashworth's misconduct. She began speaking loudly enough for nearby customers to hear. "Officer, I'm cooperating fully. I'm a single mother trying to support my son. I don't understand why I'm being treated this way." Her words were designed to garner sympathy from witnesses while creating a record of Ashworth's excessive force. Several customers stopped to watch as the officer roughly handled what appeared to be an innocent employee. "Shut up and move," Ashworth commanded. Twisting her arm harder than necessary, Camilla stumbled, crying out in genuine pain as Ashworth's grip threatened to dislocate her shoulder. The excessive force was being recorded by multiple phones now, though Ashworth seemed oblivious to the audience. "Please, officer, you're hurting me. I have a medical condition." The protest was cut short when Ashworth's hand struck her across the face with enough force to split her lip and send her stumbling into a display of merchandise. The slap echoed through the store like a gunshot, followed by gasps of horror from witnesses. "That's what happens when you don't show respect," Ashworth snarled, standing over her as she fell to the floor. It was at that moment that Assistant Director Lawson's voice cut through the chaos, and Camilla's undercover operation came to an abrupt and very public end. While Camilla was maintaining her cover in the Megamart back office, Agent Lucas Wire Brennan was monitoring her communications from a surveillance van parked 3 blocks away. When her emergency beacon activated repeatedly, he immediately alerted Assistant Director Lawson and began coordinating extraction protocols. "We've got a problem," Brennan reported through secure communications. "Winters is in distress, and local police are on scene." This wasn't part of the plan, Lawson had been reviewing case files at the Cincinnati field office when the alert came through. Within minutes, he was en route to Millbrook Commons with a tactical team, but they were still 30 minutes away when Ashworth struck Camilla. The FBI had been building the case against Castellano's organization for 2 years. Operation Clean Sweep was more than just a money laundering investigation. It was part of a broader effort to dismantle criminal networks that had corrupted law enforcement agencies across 3 states. What made Camilla's situation more dangerous was intelligence suggesting that several local police officers were on Castellano's payroll. The FBI had suspected corruption in the Millbrook Police Department but hadn't identified specific individuals until Ashworth's eager response to the store incident. "Run a background check on Officer Trent Ashworth," Lawson ordered Brennan as they raced toward the scene. "Full financial analysis, phone records, the works." His response time suggests this wasn't coincidental. Meanwhile, Special Agent in charge, Foster, was coordinating with the U.S. Attorney's Office to prepare charges not only against Castellano's organization but against any law enforcement personnel who had compromised the investigation. The surveillance equipment Camilla had been wearing was transmitting everything to federal receivers, meaning Ashworth's assault was being recorded not just by civilian phones, but by FBI technical surveillance. Every word, every action, every violation of civil rights was being documented in real time. "We've got assault under color of law, civil rights violations, and potential obstruction of justice," Foster reported to the U.S. Attorney. "And that's before we get to the corruption charges." Back at Megamart, Manager Dalton was growing increasingly nervous as he realized the situation had escalated beyond simple employee discipline. When Ashworth struck Camilla, Dalton understood that whatever protection Castellano's money had bought was about to evaporate under federal scrutiny. Anthony DeLuca, monitoring police scanners from his office across town, heard references to federal agents and FBI surveillance. He immediately began destroying documents and transferring money out of accounts connected to the Megamart operation. "Burn it all," he ordered his associates. "If the feds are involved, we need to disappear everything connecting us to the store." But DeLuca's panic was premature. The FBI had been documenting the money laundering operation for months, and digital evidence of financial crimes was already safely stored on federal servers. His attempts to destroy evidence would only add obstruction, charges to his growing list of federal crimes. Customer Emma Rodriguez's live stream of Ashworth's assault had already garnered thousands of views and was being shared across social media platforms. The hashtag #MegaMartAssault began trending as viewers expressed outrage at the officer's violent behavior toward what appeared to be an innocent store employee. The public reaction was creating pressure that would make it impossible for local authorities to cover up or minimize the incident. By the time Assistant Director Lawson arrived at the store, the assault had already become a viral sensation, with calls for justice flooding social media. The convergence of federal investigation, viral video evidence, and public outrage was creating a perfect storm that would expose not only Castellano's criminal network, but the extent of police corruption that had enabled it to operate for years. Assistant Director Lawson's arrival at Megamart was the culmination of months of strategic planning that went far beyond Camilla's undercover operation. The FBI had been building a comprehensive case against corruption networks that extended throughout Ohio's law enforcement community, and Ashworth's assault provided the perfect catalyst for bringing everything into the light. Within minutes of entering the store, Lawson had secured the scene, called for FBI medical personnel, and initiated protocols that would transform a local incident into a federal case with national implications. "Agent Winters needs immediate medical attention," he announced to the crowd of onlookers. "I'm placing Officer Ashworth under arrest for assault under color of law and civil rights violations." The announcement sent shockwaves through the store. Manager Dalton attempted to leave quietly through the back exit, but found FBI agents waiting for him. Security guard Turner discovered that his radio communications had been monitored and recorded by federal surveillance equipment. Lawson's response was methodical and overwhelming. He activated pre-positioned FBI assets throughout Millbrook Commons, effectively sealing off all escape routes for anyone connected to the criminal operation. The Bureau had been preparing for this moment for months. "Wire, initiate full surveillance package," Lawson ordered Brennan. "I want real-time monitoring of all communications from Castellano's known associates. They're going to panic when word gets out." The strategic response extended beyond immediate arrests. Lawson coordinated with the U.S. Attorney's Office to unseal indictments that had been prepared weeks earlier. By evening, federal agents would simultaneously arrest 15 individuals across 3 states, dismantling the entire money laundering network in coordinated raids. Customer Emma Rodriguez's viral video had created a public relations nightmare for the Millbrook Police Department, but it also provided the FBI with irrefutable evidence of police misconduct. The footage showed not only Ashworth's assault, but his clear familiarity with store personnel, suggesting ongoing corrupt relationships. This officer responded to a routine call with unusual speed and obvious foreknowledge of the situation, Lawson explained to reporters who arrived within hours. "That pattern suggests corruption that we intend to investigate thoroughly." Police Chief Marcus Holloway attempted damage control by announcing Ashworth's suspension, but federal authorities made it clear that local disciplinary action would not preclude federal prosecution. The FBI had jurisdiction over civil rights violations, and Lawson intended to use that authority fully. Special Agent in Charge Foster arrived with a full tactical team to process evidence at the store. What they found exceeded expectations: financial records hidden in plain sight, communication devices used for coordinating illegal activities, and evidence of systematic corruption involving multiple law enforcement agencies. "This isn't just about money laundering," Foster explained to federal prosecutors. "This is about a criminal network that corrupted law enforcement to protect their operations." Ashworth's assault on Agent Winters was just the tip of the iceberg. The tactical response included immediate protection for Camilla and her son Jordan. The FBI relocated them to a secure facility while medical personnel treated her injuries and federal attorneys prepared to use her testimony to dismantle the criminal network she had spent months documenting. Most importantly, Lawson's response sent a clear message to criminal organizations across the region. Federal law enforcement would not tolerate corruption of local police departments, and anyone who attacked federal agents, undercover or otherwise, would face the full weight of federal prosecution. The strategic brilliance of the response lay in how it transformed Ashworth's moment of brutality into the catalyst for comprehensive justice that would protect communities throughout Ohio from similar criminal corruption. The transformation of Megamart from crime scene to FBI command center happened with military precision. Within 2 hours of Camilla's assault, the store had been secured, evidence collected, and a dozen suspects arrested in coordinated raids across Millbrook Commons. Officer Trent Ashworth sat in federal custody, finally understanding the magnitude of his mistake. The woman he had assaulted wasn't just any store employee. She was Special Agent Camilla Winters, a federal law enforcement officer conducting an authorized investigation into criminal activities he had been paid to protect. "Let me explain your situation," FBI Attorney Rachel Stone told Ashworth during his initial interview. "You assaulted a federal agent in the performance of her duties, obstructed a federal investigation, and did so while accepting payments from the criminal organization she was investigating. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showed monthly payments from accounts controlled by Vincent Castellano to Ashworth's personal bank account. Phone records revealed regular communication between Ashworth and Anthony DeLuca. Most damning was the federal surveillance footage showing Ashworth's assault, captured in high definition by equipment Camilla had been wearing. Assistant Director Lawson held a press conference outside Megamart, with Camilla beside him in fresh FBI attire, her split lip visible, but her bearing professional and strong. Special Agent Winters spent 3 months undercover, gathering evidence of a sophisticated money laundering operation that moved millions of dollars through seemingly legitimate businesses, Lawson announced. Her dedication to this investigation, even while being assaulted by a corrupt police officer, exemplifies the commitment of federal law enforcement to protecting our communities. The revelation shattered the criminal network's carefully constructed protection system. Police Chief Holloway called an emergency meeting when he learned that federal agents had arrested 4 of his officers on corruption charges. The FBI had been building cases against corrupt law enforcement personnel throughout the region. Manager Kevin Dalton, facing federal charges for money laundering and conspiracy, immediately began cooperating with authorities in exchange for reduced sentences. His testimony revealed the scope of Castellano's operation and identified dozens of businesses involved in the criminal enterprise. The store was just one piece of a much larger puzzle, Dalton admitted during FBI interviews. Castellano's people had been using local businesses for money laundering for years, and they paid police officers to look the other way. Security guard Frank Turner, despite his military background, had been completely unaware of the criminal activities occurring at his workplace. His cooperation with the FBI investigation helped establish patterns of suspicious behavior and identified key players in the money laundering scheme. The power shift was evident in Vincent Castellano's frantic attempts to flee the country. Federal agents intercepted him at Cleveland Hopkins Airport, where he was attempting to board a private jet to a non-extradition country. His arrest completed the dismantling of an organization that had operated with impunity for over 5 years. Customer Emma Rodriguez's viral video had been viewed over 2 million times, creating public pressure that made it impossible for local authorities to minimize or cover up the incident. Her inadvertent documentation of federal agent assault had become crucial evidence in multiple federal prosecutions. "I just wanted to document what looked like police brutality," Rodriguez told reporters. "I had no idea I was filming the assault of an FBI agent." Conducting an undercover investigation, the revelation transformed public perception of the incident from simple police misconduct to a complex federal case involving organized crime, police corruption, and the bravery of an undercover agent who maintained her cover even while being assaulted. Judge Theodore Blackwell, who had been scheduled to hear routine cases, found his docket transformed into federal proceedings involving racketeering, money laundering, and civil rights violations. The scope of the investigation had exposed corruption that reached into multiple institutions throughout the region. For Camilla, the end of her undercover assignment marked the beginning of a new phase in her career, testifying in federal court against the criminal organizations she had infiltrated and the corrupt officers who had protected them. The arrests at Megamart triggered the largest federal investigation into police corruption in Ohio's history. Within a week of Camilla's assault, federal agents had executed search warrants at 12 police departments, 3 prosecutors' offices, and dozens of businesses suspected of involvement in Castellano's money laundering network. Officer Trent Ashworth's case became the centerpiece of a broader prosecution that would ultimately result in the conviction of 43 individuals on federal charges, ranging from racketeering to civil rights violations. His assault on Agent Winters, captured on multiple recording devices, provided irrefutable evidence of police brutality under color of law. The financial investigation revealed the stunning scope of Castellano's operation. Over 18 months, more than $12 million in criminal proceeds had been laundered through businesses in Millbrook Commons alone. The network included restaurants, retail stores, and service businesses, all coordinating to clean money for drug trafficking organizations. Police Chief Marcus Holloway resigned in disgrace when FBI auditors discovered that corruption payments had been flowing through his department for over 3 years. Federal investigators found evidence that Holloway had been aware of suspicious activity but had failed to investigate due to his own financial arrangements with Castellano's organization. The systematic nature of this corruption required leadership complicity. Assistant U.S. Attorney Diana Foster explained during congressional testimony. This wasn't a few rogue officers, this was institutional failure that enabled organized crime to operate freely in multiple communities. The Justice Department implemented a consent decree requiring federal oversight of the Millbrook Police Department for at least 5 years. New training programs, accountability measures, and transparency requirements were designed to prevent similar corruption from taking root. Again, Emma Rodriguez's viral video had catalyzed public demand for police accountability that extended far beyond Ohio. The footage of Ashworth assaulting what appeared to be an innocent store employee became a symbol of police brutality. Even before her identity as an FBI agent was revealed, congressional hearings examining the case led to new legislation strengthening protections for federal agents conducting undercover operations. The Agent Winters Act created enhanced penalties for anyone who assaulted or interfered with federal law enforcement personnel, regardless of whether their identity was known at the time. Attorney Rachel Stone's civil rights lawsuit against the city of Millbrook and its police department resulted in a $2.3 million settlement, with funds designated for police reform initiatives and community programs. More importantly, the lawsuit established legal precedents that would protect other federal agents conducting undercover work. The systematic consequences extended to the business community as well. Federal regulators implemented new requirements for cash-intensive businesses, making it harder for criminal organizations to launder money through legitimate enterprises. The Megamart case became a textbook example of how federal agencies could dismantle sophisticated financial crimes. Vincent Castellano received a 30-year federal sentence after pleading guilty to racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy charges. Anthony DeLuca and other key lieutenants received sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years. The criminal enterprise that had operated across 3 states was completely dismantled. Manager Kevin Dalton, who cooperated extensively with federal investigators, received a reduced sentence of 5 years, but was permanently barred from working in retail management. His testimony helped convict dozens of other participants in the money laundering scheme. The transformation of Millbrook Commons from a criminal hub to a legitimate business district took nearly 2 years, but federal oversight ensured that new businesses were thoroughly vetted and properly regulated. The community that had unknowingly harbored criminal activity became a model for federal-local cooperation in preventing organized crime. For law enforcement agencies nationwide, the Millbrook case became required study material, demonstrating how criminal organizations could corrupt entire police departments and the importance of federal oversight in maintaining law enforcement integrity. 18 months after her assault at Megamart, Special Agent Camilla Winters stood before a packed auditorium at the FBI Academy in Quantico, delivering the keynote address for National Undercover Operations Week. Her transformation from victim to advocate had inspired comprehensive reforms in federal law enforcement training and operations. That day in Megamart, I was faced with a choice, she told the audience of current and prospective agents. I could blow my cover to protect myself, or I could maintain my mission integrity even while being assaulted. The decision to stay in character until my extraction wasn't just about one case. It was about proving that federal agents won't be intimidated by corruption or brutality. The Castellano investigation had become a model for how undercover operations could dismantle complex criminal networks while maintaining agent safety and legal integrity. Camilla's ability to gather crucial evidence while under suspicion and her composure during the assault had been studied and incorporated into FBI training curricula. Officer Trent Ashworth received an 8-year federal sentence for civil rights violations, assault under color of law, and conspiracy. His case became a cautionary tale used in police academies nationwide about the consequences of corruption and brutality. The body camera footage of his assault on Camilla was shown in law enforcement training seminars as an example of how quickly careers could be destroyed by misconduct. The systematic changes in Millbrook had been remarkable. New Police Chief Beverly Walsh, a former FBI agent herself, had implemented comprehensive reforms that made the department a national model for transparency and accountability. Crime rates dropped significantly as community trust in law enforcement increased. What happened to Agent Winters could have destroyed community faith in law enforcement, Chief Walsh explained during a police chief's conference. Instead, we used it as an opportunity to rebuild better relationships based on accountability and mutual respect. Camilla found her calling as the FBI's Director of Undercover Operations Safety, a position created specifically to protect agents conducting dangerous infiltration missions. Her experience had highlighted gaps in agent protection protocols that her office worked systematically to address. Every agent who goes undercover now benefits from lessons learned during the Castellano investigation. She explained to new recruits, "We've developed better extraction procedures, improved emergency communication systems, and enhanced legal protections for agents whose covers are blown while they're being victimized." Assistant Director Lawson, promoted to Deputy Director following his exemplary handling of the corruption investigation, established new protocols for federal-local law enforcement cooperation. The Millbrook model required federal oversight whenever local police departments showed statistical indicators of potential corruption. Emma Rodriguez, the customer whose viral video had helped expose the corruption, became an advocate for police accountability and transparency. She established a non-profit organization that trained citizens to safely document police interactions and provided legal support for witnesses to misconduct. "I was just shopping for groceries when I witnessed what I thought was police brutality," Rodriguez reflected during a civil rights conference. "Learning that I had actually filmed the assault of an undercover FBI agent by a corrupt officer made me realize how important it is for citizens to document what they see." The Megamart location had been completely renovated and reopened under new management, with federal monitoring ensuring all business practices were legitimate. The store became a symbol of how communities could recover from criminal infiltration when proper oversight and accountability measures were implemented. Judge Theodore Blackwell, who had presided over many of the federal prosecutions resulting from the investigation, noted how the case had changed judicial approaches to police misconduct. The Winters case demonstrated that federal oversight is sometimes necessary to ensure local accountability, he observed. "It strengthened our entire legal system." Vincent Castellanos' criminal organization, once one of the most sophisticated money laundering operations in the Midwest, had been completely dismantled. Federal authorities recovered over $18 million in criminal proceeds and disrupted drug trafficking networks across multiple states. For Camilla's son Jordan, now 10 years old, his mother's transformation from undercover agent to public advocate had been both challenging and inspiring. He understood that his mother's work protected communities, but he also worried about her safety during dangerous assignments. "Mom always taught me that standing up for what's right sometimes means facing scary situations," Jordan told his classmates during a school presentation about careers in law enforcement. "She got hurt helping catch bad guys, but she helped make sure other people would be safer." The mother-son relationship that had been part of Camilla's cover identity as Maya Johnson had evolved into a deeper understanding of service. sacrifice, and the importance of fighting injustice wherever it appeared. 3 years after the Megamart incident, Camilla Winters returned to Millbrook Commons for the dedication of the Federal Law Enforcement Memorial, a monument honoring agents who had been injured or killed in the line of duty. Her name was engraved alongside hundreds of others who had sacrificed for justice, though she was among the few who had survived to see their legacy honored. The ceremony was attended by FBI Director Sarah Morrison, Assistant Attorney General Michael Torres, and dozens of federal agents whose careers had been influenced by the reforms implemented following the Castellano investigation. The transformation of Millbrook from a corruption hub to a model law enforcement community was complete. Agent Winters' courage under assault demonstrated that federal law enforcement will not be intimidated by criminal organizations or the corrupt officials they compromise. Director Morrison told the assembled crowd, her legacy isn't just the criminals she helped convict, but the systems she helped reform to protect communities nationwide. The legal precedents established by Camilla's case had protected dozens of other undercover agents in subsequent operations. The enhanced penalties for assaulting federal personnel, improved emergency extraction procedures, and stronger federal oversight of local police departments had become permanent features of American law enforcement. Officer Trent Ashworth, serving his federal sentence in a minimum security facility, had become a reluctant example of how corruption charges could destroy law enforcement careers. His case was studied in criminal justice programs as a cautionary tale about the consequences of betraying public trust. The Millbrook Police Department, under Chief Walsh's continued leadership, had achieved national recognition for community policing excellence. The department that had once been riddled with corruption was now training other agencies in transparency, accountability, and ethical law enforcement practices. Emma Rodriguez's advocacy organization had grown into a nationwide network that provided legal support and training for citizens documenting police interactions. Her accidental documentation of federal agent assault had evolved into a systematic approach to promoting law enforcement. Accountability, what started as one person trying to document what looked wrong, has become a movement ensuring that police misconduct can't be hidden or ignored. Rodriguez explained during the memorial dedication. Judge Blackwell, now serving on the federal appellate court, had incorporated lessons from the Millbrook cases into judicial training programs nationwide. His courtroom had become a model for how federal judges could address complex cases involving organized crime, police corruption, and civil rights violations. The Megamart location had become a symbol of community recovery and federal law enforcement success. The store operated legitimately, employed local residents fairly, and served as a reminder that criminal infiltration could be defeated through proper investigation and accountability. For the business community, the Castellano investigation had created new standards for financial transparency and criminal compliance. The money laundering techniques exposed during the investigation had been shared with financial institutions worldwide, making it harder for criminal organizations to clean illegal proceeds through legitimate businesses. Assistant Director Lawson, now serving as FBI Deputy Director, had institutionalized the investigative techniques developed during Operation Clean Sweep. Federal agents nationwide benefited from improved training, better interagency cooperation, and enhanced protection protocols for undercover operations. The Millbrook investigation proved that federal law enforcement could adapt and overcome even sophisticated criminal networks, Lawson reflected. More importantly, it demonstrated our commitment to protecting the agents who risk their lives to protect our communities. Camilla's son Jordan, now 13 and considering his own future in public service, had grown up understanding that his mother's sacrifice had protected countless families from criminal victimization. Her example had inspired him to consider careers in law enforcement, though she encouraged him to explore all options for serving his community. My mum taught me that standing up for what's right isn't always easy or safe, Jordan told his middle school career fair audience. But she also taught me that someone has to do it, and those people make the world better for everyone else. The memorial dedication concluded with a moment of silence for all federal agents who had made the ultimate sacrifice in service to justice. Camilla stood among her colleagues, her split lip long-heeled, but her commitment to protecting communities stronger than ever. As the ceremony ended and the crowd dispersed, Camilla walked through the renovated Millbrook Commons with her son Jordan, reflecting on how much had changed since that violent afternoon 3 years earlier. The shopping district bustled with legitimate businesses, families shopping safely, and police officers who had earned genuine community respect through accountability and transparency. The transformation was a testament to what could be accomplished when corruption was exposed and justice was pursued systematically. "Mom," Jordan asked as they passed the megamart where everything had changed, "do you ever regret going undercover? Getting hurt like that?" Camilla considered his question carefully. At 13, he was old enough to understand complex answers about sacrifice, service, and the sometimes painful cost of doing what's right. "I regret that corrupt officers made it dangerous for me to do my job," she replied. "But I don't regret the job itself. Every criminal we arrested, every corrupt officer we removed from the streets, every reform we implemented, all of that made communities safer for families like ours." She paused, looking at the memorial they had just dedicated. "Sometimes protecting people means accepting risks. That's what federal agents sign up for. But we also work to make sure those risks are as small as possible, and that when agents do get hurt, their sacrifice leads to lasting change." The legacy of the Megamart incident extended far beyond Millbrook Commons. Federal law enforcement agencies nationwide had implemented the protocols, training programs, and accountability measures that emerged from Camilla's ordeal. Her assault had catalyzed reforms that would protect agents and communities for generations. As mother and son walked toward their car, Camilla's radio crackled with a message from FBI headquarters. A new undercover operation was being planned, and her expertise was needed to ensure agent safety protocols were properly implemented. "Duty calls?" Jordan asked, recognizing the tone of official communications. "Always," Camilla replied, but she was smiling. "That's how we make sure what happened here never happens anywhere else." The story that had begun with violence in a retail store had become a comprehensive transformation of how federal law enforcement protected both agents and communities. The corrupt network that had seemed untouchable had been completely dismantled, and the systems put in place ensured that similar criminal enterprises would find it nearly impossible to operate with impunity. Most importantly, the case had demonstrated that individual courage, when supported by institutional commitment to justice, could create changes that extended far beyond any single incident. Camilla Winters had been assaulted while undercover, but her refusal to be intimidated had ultimately made law enforcement stronger, communities safer, and justice more accessible to everyone. The badge she wore carried new meaning now, not just a symbol of federal authority, but a reminder that those who serve the public must also be willing to fight for the systems that make democratic society possible. Her legacy would continue through every agent she trained, every protocol she improved, and every community that benefited from the accountability measures her sacrifice had created. The memorial behind them bore witness to all who had paid the price for justice. Camilla's name was engraved there not as an ending, but as a beginning, the start of a new chapter in federal law enforcement that prioritized both agent safety and community protection through transparency, accountability, and unwavering commitment to the rule of law. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.